Strips, we all have them. They're sitting here in our scrap bins and we need to use them up. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about using up those scraps that we all have. Hi, I'm Roberta from Quilt Crafters Corner and welcome back. Thanks for joining me. We're going to talk more about those strips and those scraps that we all have and we need to use up. They're not doing any good in that box or that drawer over there. So thank you for joining me today. We're going to take a look at this idea, and this idea kind of came to me and thought, well, why not? Why not use up those strips in a new way? And you know, this is a real simple, easy way to do it. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do appreciate it. And leave me a comment. I do reply to all of them. So today, this was a real simple idea, and this kind of was something that was kicking around in my head. And I thought, well, why can't I just use up my strips this way? And it's just a real simple, easy idea. So let's go over to the cutting table and I'll tell you the story behind it and how this kind of all happened. Because I made a quilt, probably 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, not real sure. And it was one of those fun quilts to make that my friend and I decided to do this together, and we bought one pattern between us and we were going to share it, and we bought one set of rulers between us and we were going to kind of cut them together and then sew them together. And that's kind of how these quilts went together. So at the end, we had this pattern left over and the rulers left over. She wanted the rulers, I wanted the pattern. So I went, okay, I'll take the pattern, you can have the rulers. And I went and bought my own rulers because they were useful, they were helpful. And I usually don't spend a lot of money on rulers because I kind of figure out other ways to do what I need. But these were so helpful and gave me interesting new shapes to work with that kind of inspired me. So let's go to the cutting table and I want to inspire you with some of these ideas to use up these strips. Okay, here we are at the cutting table. Now, as I was saying, here's the pattern that it started this whole thing. It's called Sweet Tooth. It's by Julie Harriman of Jaybird Quilts. And it was a fun quilt to make. It really was. And it was kind of an interesting, unique quilt. I'll put a picture of mine up. It's not a very good picture because, like I said, it was 7 or 8 years ago that I made this quilt. But yeah, I'll show you a picture of the one I made. Now, I chose the solids. My friend did hers all in batiks. She's kind of a batik nut and she really loves them and she's got lots of them. So this was the quilt and it was a really fun quilt to make, and we made the blocks all together, and it was really an interesting way to use up some of those solids that I had that had lots of them and just kind of used them up. So here's the story. When I was cutting out the background pieces in order to put these blocks together, I cut a whole bunch of the triangles because my background was gray, not black like this. And so I had cut a whole bunch of triangles and then I misplaced them. I'm like, well, what happened to them? So I cut up a bunch more. So these were the leftovers, or the ones that I finally found. I came across them and going, oh my goodness, there they are. So I had these triangles and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with them? How can I use these up? I didn't want to, turn them into something else. So I was like, well, there's got to be a way I can use these up. So here are the triangles that I cut. And so I started playing with the ideas. Now these are 6.5-inch triangles, or 6.5 length. So I knew anything that I had to go with it had to be 6.5. So this is a strip set that I just kind of put together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of trim this up to 6.5 so that it can be the same as the triangles. And use them up so that they are going to be, okay, so there's my strip set. Now this is a real simple, easy thing to do. And like I said, I love these rulers because there's a lot of different things you can do with them. You can see you can make different types of shapes, a diamond and the hexagon and a triangle and a so you can make a lot of different things with this one and a lot of different things with this one. This is the one that I really liked because I could do some interesting shapes and interesting, you know, diamond shapes with this one also. So this is the ruler I'm going to use for cutting these up. Now what I'm going to do is there's a 6.5 inch line there, and I'm going to line my that line up with the bottom of my fabric and just trim that off. Now that can be used on the edges of this. So, and then you're just flipping it over once again, lining up on that 6.5 inch line and cutting. Now I could easily just flip this around and cut it again. You know, there's several ways you can use this. You don't have to do it all in one way. Just flip your strips around. And there's my second one. The other thing I love about this ruler is it gives you this flat point at the top, which gives you that room for that 1/4 inch on each side, and it makes it almost foolproof in putting these together. So this is a real simple, easy way to put these together so that you can have a nice, even, straight line. And that's what I really love about these rulers. I'll put a link in the description for them. You can go look at them and check them out. Now I have this left over, and once again, I could probably trim this up and use it, but it's missing some piece there, so I'm going to put that down in the scrap for crumb squares. So I've got 3. Now as you can see, because of the way they are, this makes another one of those half circle type of elements itself. And this is kind of where I've been playing with these ideas on how to use these strips up, but it gives you an interesting, another way to use it. Okay, so here's some strips. Now, I made this, and this is just pieces done on foundation fabric. This is fabric. This is not paper. I do it on fabric because then I don't have to tear out paper, and it doesn't stretch funny. It doesn't move funny, and all of my weird angles and everything kind of turn out really good. So these are the ones that I'm going to put together, and I'm going to go sew these at the sewing machine. All right, so here's my first strip sewn together. It's sewn on. Now I'm going to take it and press it really good so that I've got a nice flat seam to work with. Okay, so this has given me my first 2 strips in the set. Now, as you can see, I've used a lot of little pieces in here, and this is a really great way to use up all those little pieces, and it doesn't stretch or stretch out of shape. It's nice and stable, and it's easy to sew. So here is one way to use up all of those scraps. Now this next piece, I'm just going to sew right onto here, and then I will trim this up. Okay, now there's my second strip all sewn on. So now I can go take that to the iron and press that. And that'll go back in the scrap bin. Now it's not quite real even, so I'm going to kind of trim this up just a little bit because I do want it to be pretty straight when I go to make my triangles. So I'm going to line my ruler up and just kind of trim off. Now you can see it's not quite, but it will all work out. It's not exact, but it will work out. Okay, so there's our strip. And once again, this is just a real easy way to line it up at the 6.5 inch line. And I'm going to be cutting this piece off. Now that, like I said, can be used on the edge if I want to use it on the edge. And so now flip my strip over and flip my ruler over, line it up at the 6.5. and cut it. And that's all there really is to do it. Now we're going to cut again. And there's another one. And as you can see, they're different. They each have
a different top and bottom. You know, the bottom here is the same as the top there, and the top here is the bottom there, which kind of gives it a, you know, an interesting. See, now those two are the same, but because of the center, look at what the center does with those stripped those scraps that I put in there. Now that gives it a whole nother element that you can play with. And there's another piece. So this one's a little shy of it, but I can use that for an end. So these are all pieces that can go into this quilt now. And this is just a simple, easy way to use up your scrap. I have an upcoming workshop and we're going to talk more about using our scraps. You're going to finish your quilt with your scraps and you're going to be amazed at how many scraps you use up and get out of that drawer or that box over there. So there's a link in the description. Click on that link, sign up for the wait list. I can't wait to do that with you because it's going to be a lot of fun and you're going to get some amazing ideas on how to use up your scraps. So look at how quickly this is coming together. And these are just strips that you have that are left over from those quilt backs that we all have, and they're sitting in the drawer and they just need to be used. This is a simple idea. I want to give you more ideas like this. I hope this is something that's interesting to you. Please leave me a comment. Let me know. Are you going to try this out? And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do appreciate it. It does help me out. And I just love bringing ideas like this to you. Also, I have that workshop coming up. There's a link in the description. Click on that. Sign up for the wait list. I can't wait to get started. So until next time, happy quilting.